And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of our monthly weather roundup. I am meteorologist Joe Martucci. He is New Jersey State Climatologist Dr. Dave Robinson, who I just found out is America's longest serving state climatologist in history. I said you were the Cal Ripken of climatologists. You said no, you wanted to be Lou Gehrig. But why would you want to be in second place?
A Yankee is never in second place.
Apparently, according to record books, they are. So how many years are we at?
I started in 91.
Okay.
So this is what, year 30, 34.
Okay. And do we know what the second place is? The real second place?
Yeah, the second place, I believe, is still held by Harry Hilliker, who was the Iowa State climatologist from 1988 to about 7, 8 years ago. So it's, he had to be retired 3 years for me to go into first place. I think second place now is being held by Leslie Dupigny-Giraud, a dear friend who is the Vermont State climatologist. And I think she came in 98 as the Vermont State climatologist.
Okay. All right. So what do you attribute your success to, your longevity to?
Persistence.
Okay.
Persistence.
For better or for worse, persistence.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful that in New Jersey and Rutgers in particular, and even more specifically, the Agricultural Experiment Station at the School of Environmental and Biological Sciences has let me do my thing during that time. Statewide, how many governors have I essentially served under, even though it is not a state position appointed by the governor? It's apolitical. And at Rutgers, I've served under numerous deans and acting deans over the years. And I've just had wonderful relationships with them and their general support that let me go and do our thing in the state climate office. Kind of rose from the ashes, not to defame my two predecessors at Rutgers from the late 70s until 91. They got the state climate office going at Rutgers when it was abolished in the early 70s as a federal position. And all credit to them, Vaughn Havens and Mark Schulman. But there wasn't a lot to state climate offices when you got to the early 90s. I was offered it as a junior professor, and I foolishly said yes, because doing a service position at a major university doesn't necessarily get you promoted. You doing research, but I already had a well-established global polar research agenda. And I'm a Jersey native, as you know,
Yeah.
and this is kind of what I wanted to be when I grew up, if I knew such a position existed. And granted, while I was growing up, it was a federal position.
Right.
So there we are. I said yes, and with the help of many people, it's grown into an office that I think I can be proud of, and with a terrific staff and a lot of support from many within the state.
Well, you know, I don't think New Jersey weather could be written without talking about you. And that's not even just doing this. It's everything you're doing from Sussex County to Cape May County and the Weather Network, which I don't even know if everybody knows comes from you in the state climate office. Of course, if you listen to this, you know that. But, the depth of data and the amount of observations that have been taken is all credit to you. So on behalf of everybody here at the Jersey Shore, thank you for everything you've done. And it's not over yet. So you're going to keep adding to your 34. I mean, this isn't the end.
And you're a part of that too, having contributed when you were an undergrad in the office.
Yeah, I'm like that. I think if I look close.
Well, but you've supported the CocoRoss program.
Oh yeah.
Everything else. So mutual admiration. We'll leave it at that. Let's talk about the weather.
All right, let's talk about the weather. Okay, so let's start off with drought or the lack thereof. So this is going to get a little nuanced, and I'll try to break it down first, and then I'm going to turn it over to you. The United States Drought Monitor, which you have a seat at the table at, has placed New Jersey out of drought. That started on the 22nd, maybe or around there. I can get the exact date. However, we are still in a drought warning by the New Jersey DEP. The DEP, and I think it's fair to say this, and then I'll turn it over to you. The DEP more or less sets the policy. The United States Drought Monitor is more of the scientific arm of it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, there's reasons for some discrepancies. Usually the drought monitor goes into drought faster than DEP does, and DEP comes out of it slower. And that's because DEP is primarily looking at water resources, reservoir levels, stream flows, groundwater levels. The drought monitor is more broadly looking at drought in terms of fire danger, soil moisture, agricultural influences. They even say it's sometimes they say, well, don't look so much at reservoir levels. Look at the more natural water resources. So they look at it a little bit differently. And so right now, the reason why we are still in a drought warning as we record this today is due to groundwater recharging. Coming out of a drought, it's very easy to see it starts raining. It's easy to drive down the road and see a reservoir, at least in northern and parts of central Jersey, a reservoir that's full. But if you look at groundwater levels through well fields, you'll find, particularly in South Jersey, but even recently up in the highlands of North Jersey, that the groundwater hadn't recharged after a pretty severe precipitation deficit that in the Pinelands began this time last year and just got aggravated and then amplified by the um, driest fall on record statewide. So those sandy substrate there is a sponge for moisture, and it takes a while to get depleted, but it takes quite a lot of rainfall to refill that aquifer. And that's what we're still waiting on in parts of the Pinelands. Thus, for now, they've put the whole state still remaining in warning. But I think we're going to see some movement on that in the days ahead. So
So,
there's a legitimate reason why the two different. I should add that the small advisory group that I kind of manage um, for that makes recommendations to the author of the national map each week for the U.S. Drought Monitor includes several people from DEP and from the Weather Service and from the State Climate Office. And the Weather Service, it would be local forecast offices and someone from the Eastern region. So it's not all from me. It's not all from Rutgers. It's not all from the Weather Service. It includes DEP feedback. So we're all on the same page. We're all working together. There's no schism there or
right.
battles between it. We're all looking for the good of the state. It's just we have slightly different ways of interpreting data. DEP also uses a 90-day look back period. So they see what's happened in the last 90 days. With the drought monitor, we have a little more flexibility. In the summer, we can act more quickly because you could have a flash drought and quickly get into trouble in 30 days. But when they look back in July this year, for instance, they're going to be looking back at May, which has been a
Yep.
very wet May. And
Yep.
until we get to later in August, May is still part of the equation that they use for their assessment. Not the only one. They
Yeah.
use seat of pants feeling too. So anyway, that kind of explains it. There's no schism. Everyone gets along. We're all looking in the best interest of the state when it comes to assessing drought conditions.
And how wet was May? Because it was, I
Oh,
know it was wet, but how wet
yeah.
was it really?
Fifth, right now, the preliminary numbers, and there's some discrepancy between a couple different sources, has us roughly the fifth wettest May in the last 131 Mays. I think it could go as high as fourth. It could probably drop down as low as seventh or eighth, but we're going to end up in the top 10 for sure, and we're not going to challenge the top three.
Okay.
So fifth is a good number, but that's darn good. I
Yeah.
mean, we've been waiting for this and waiting for this, and we've talked about that window of opportunity to
Yeah.
replenish our water resources that generally begins in the fall and is completed by May before we start consuming a lot of water in the summer, humans and vegetation. That window kept closing, and November, December
Yeah.
below normal. January, the third driest January on record. February and March, just a little below normal. April, almost exactly normal for precip. And the window was still open
Yeah.
because the reservoirs, just having average rainfall was beginning to help replenish things. But we still needed that jolt. And May provided that jolt. Unfortunately, not in one fell swoop. It was over multiple. I mean, how many days did it rain? How long?
It felt like a lot.
And
Yeah.
so, really, that was just thank goodness we got that precipitation in May. Here we are in early June. We're not fully out of the woods yet. And as we all know, you can quickly, in a hot, dry summer, fall into trouble again. Because remember, last year we went into June, we had had a very wet spring,
Yeah.
a near
Right.
record wet March, as I recall,
Yeah.
and May was wet, and we got into trouble by mid late summer, and then it exacerbated and got much worse come the fall. So we always have to be on guard. And this year we don't have the biggest of cushions as we go in. We're up to normal, except with the southern groundwater, but we're not overflowing as we are sometimes when we head into the summer. But
Got it.
uh, such a relief. That's going to be
Yeah.
the head of my May statement, my May report we put online. It's going to say, "Oh, what a relief it is." It's going to be the title of it.
As somebody who also has a birthday on May 13th, was that your birthday wish? Were you hoping for fifth wettest May on record or thereabouts? Was that on
I
your
don't
list?
wish for those.
Okay. I was just
I gotta
wondering. I didn't know
save
how
better
dedicated to the
wishes than
game you
that.
were on that. Okay. So let me ask you this. We have about 90 seconds here. Putting this drought into context, right? And we'll say that it's almost over. We hope, right? It's not, but we're pretty much there.
Yeah.
Is this the worst drought since 2002? Is that fair to say? Is it not even at that level? Like, where are we putting this in the record books?
Yeah, I think it is fair to say that. It took me a while to get there because you had to wait it out a little bit. And we had droughts in 2010. We had multiple, I always say we've been teased, and we've gone into drought watches and occasionally a drought warning over the time. But in terms of the depth of the drought, the deficits of precip, and even the longevity, you can almost call it a year, as I said, in South Jersey, and certainly 9 months in the north. Yeah, I think and again, I haven't run all the numbers, but
Yeah.
I would say this was the worst since the 98 to 2002 period, culminating in '01 and '02. That was worse. There's no
Yeah.
question. That was
Right.
worse. When you're in March and Spruce Run Reservoir in Hunterdon County is 45% of capacity, and it should be full by then, you really start to worry.
Yeah.
But still, this was probably the most extreme since '02.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully we won't have to worry about this for a long, long time. We're going to take a break. We'll come back on the other side. We got plenty more to talk about on the monthly.
It's summer, and whether you're in Sandy Hook, Cape May, or right here in Point Pleasant Beach, I'm covering the weather like nowhere else. Hey everyone, it's meteorologist Joe Martucci here. All throughout the year, we're covering Jersey Shore weather, but we know during the summer it means just a little bit more. Whether it's the sea breezes, the tides, or those beautiful summer days, we're covering it all here right on my website and on my social media platforms. I'm a local. I live here. You live here. Or maybe you have a second home here, or maybe just coming for the day. It doesn't matter. I'm a certified broadcast meteorologist and digital meteorologist, and one that's been around for nearly a decade here at the Jersey Shore. And if you're someone who wants to advertise with me, well, hey, now's the best time to do that too. So come to my social media pages at JoeMartWX or go to my website, www.cupajoe.live, for everything Jersey Shore this summer.
All right, and we are back recapping the month of May with New Jersey State Climatologist Dr. Dave Robinson. We are going to move away from drought and we'll talk about severe weather. May 16th, 2025, we had our, I would say, first severe weather outbreak-ish of the year. We had a tornado and something called a gust-nado hit New Jersey. The tornado was from Williamstown to Collings Lakes, really just stopped at that Gloucester, Atlantic County border there. And then we had a gustnado in Franklinville. But what was most interesting with this was we had two severe thunderstorm watches put into place by the Storm Prediction Center from Ocean to Burlington counties on south. You and I were talking, in the break here. We don't know when the last time that's happened. The National Weather Service didn't know either. Let's put it this way. It either has never happened before or it's rarely happened before. But just to show you what kind of day we had. And we had heavy rain, which added to the influx of rain that we saw during the month of May.
Yeah, I think it's useful to explain why not two in a day. Why is that unusual? And it's generally the first one spawns storms that kind of takes the energy out of the atmosphere, cools the atmosphere, stabilizes the atmosphere. So it's hard to then reinitiate it
Right.
later in the day.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's like a battery. You have to charge it up. And to be fair, that second severe thunderstorm watch didn't produce as much as that first one, which came during the middle of the day here. So I believe, according to your research, we average about 2 tornadoes a year in New Jersey. Is that still true?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
still true. We've had a plethora of them in recent years, although last year was just one week one. And then there was a plethora in the late 80s, early 90s, but there's no trend, no time series look that does anything to show that they're kind of random, but sometimes they come in bunches in multiple years. So leave it at
Yeah.
that.
All right. Okay. So I'll just say with the tornado, the Williamstown to Collings Lake, it was 8.6 miles. It was an EF1 with winds 90 to 95 miles an hour and 300 yards wide at its max. That doesn't mean the winds were 95 the whole area there, but at its max, it was 300 yards wide. And of course, the first tornado of 2025. Hopefully, we don't have to deal with any more tornadoes for the rest of the year. All right, let's go to temperatures for the month of May, and I think people are going to be surprised at this because the second half of May was on the chilly side. Memorial Day weekend, I gave it a C in my 8th annual Shore Summer Weekend Weather Report card. This past weekend, I gave a D plus, unfortunately. So anyway, but you have a surprise for us. I'll turn it over to you.
You're a tough grader. I took a wonderful, sunny, beautiful hike on Memorial Day.
But where were you?
Over Mercer County.
That's a different story. And this is beach and boat weather. You can't be laying it. Yes. Was Monday nice? Yes, it was. But it wasn't beach weather. I was in Point Pleasant.
No, it wasn't.
It was hoodie weather. You walk out, it's nice, but it's not beach weather. All right, good.
All right, we'll do that. Yeah, I mean, you may be surprised that, the beginning of the month, we were running well above normal for the most part. Although, really interesting trivia for folks. The coldest morning of May, probably not surprisingly, it was May 1st. We had a number of stations in our weather network in the 30s, and Walpack up in Northwest Jersey, a perennial cold spot, got down to 32, the last freeze of the season, likely. So that was the coldest morning. But the warmest day with the high temperatures in the afternoon was the 2nd of May. And it hit 90 at our new Woodland Township station in the Pinelands and 88, 89, upper 80s at a lot of sites. So I can't remember a time when the coldest morning of the month was followed the next day by the warmest afternoon of the month. But that warmth kind of hung on. And ultimately, the month averaged above normal. About 25th warmest of the last 131 Mays statewide. But the far South Jersey and Cape May County preliminary numbers, it was the 10th warmest. But you go up the coast, it was cooler as you went further north up the coast, in Monmouth County ranked preliminarily 45th mildest. So you have to take the county numbers with a grain of salt there. But in general, it was in the top 25% when you look back 130 years, and we ranked roughly 25th, but it
Yeah.
wasn't gangbusters. And that was just because the last 10 days of the month really pulled
Right.
down. But that's what people remember, what
Yeah.
happened recently. They forget that the beginning of the month was warm, and
Right.
that happens all the time,
No. Yeah. It's
including
not. Don't feel
winter.
bad. Right.
No, no,
No.
don't
You
feel
know
bad.
what? I'm looking at the number. This is only for ACY Airport. I think, if I'm doing some loose math in my head correct, that the second half of the month was actually cooler than the first half of the month. I don't know. I'm trying to look here. We definitely after the 17th, because that was we got into the mid 80s. But I'm looking. I'm gonna have to do some research on that. If
And
possible, the second half of the month was cooler than the first half.
yeah, I didn't run those numbers. I know the 30th we hit 80 at some spots, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it could very well be a real backwards month, as we call them, depending
Yeah.
on whether it's fall or spring and the way
Right.
the patterns go. Yeah,
Right.
so
Right.
interesting. Yeah, it didn't do any favors to start of the beach season.
No, it didn't. But this is as we talked about many times. Really, you have to wait until mid-June to get that consistent beach weather. And we're recording this on June 3rd, and looks like we're getting to that point just tomorrow. We're getting to that part.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's recap. Final topic here. Recapping spring as a whole. We use climatological seasons here. That means March, April, and May was spring, and now we are in summer. How did we do?
Well, we had what it was I thinking earlier. We had about the 10th warmest March, the 15th warmest April. We were 25th perhaps in May. So overall, spring averaged warmer than normal. Where that ranking is going to come in, we're going to be running those numbers later today. But when you put all 3 months in a row warm and all in the top 25%, you're probably going to end up somewhere, stick my neck out, 15th warmest spring. I don't know if we'll make the top 10.
Okay.
Um, but the fact that every one of them was above normal, despite none of them ranking in the top 10, could still come together to make that. So warm. And then precip wise, we were very close to normal. We talked about in
Yeah.
March and April. So May was the determinant factor there, being about twice normal. We ended up with a wet spring, but not an exceptionally wet spring, ranking up there in the top 10 like May did.
Right.
But yeah, so mild and on the wet side. Snow wise, we had
Mm,
one snow event in April, none in March, and obviously none in May. So it was a very meager spring for snow. Not that
right.
we're usually inundated in the spring, but we have been in Marches and early Aprils in the past.
And I still remember it was only 5 years ago, May 2020. We had a few flurries where I was in Monmouth County on the day before Mother's Day. That day, that was quite incredible.
Yeah, it has happened,
Yes.
and uh, the spring can hold all kind of surprises, as these transition seasons often do.
Yeah, and obviously at the immediate coast, for us coastal folks, spring is not our time. We get skunked by the sea breeze so much. But and I don't know if you said this, do you have a breakdown of the coast and inland areas for the spring? I'd be curious to see if there was any big difference.
Not a huge difference
Yeah,
because we've got the warmer ocean waters, and they
yeah,
pretty much held. No, the state fell pretty much together. It was a little drier along the coast,
yeah.
than it was inland, and eventually that got up into the northwest in particular.
Right.
Um, but nothing real special there.
Okay.
But yeah, you have to have patience, as everybody living along the coast
Yeah.
knows. Kind of like climatologists. You meteorologists get instant gratification, or I like
Yeah.
to say, or condemnation
Yeah.
when
Or
your forecast
condemnation too.
fails.
Depends how you look
Or
at it.
even if your forecast is right and the weather is lousy and you said it was going to be lousy, they
Right.
still don't like you.
That's correct.
Climatologists, we have to be patient, kind of wait out a season, wait
Right.
out a decade or two. And in the case of you shore livers, you got to wait out to spring.
That's right.
unless you get a strong offshore flux, you're going to be in the ice box. There was a
Yeah.
day, and I should go to my narrative if people want to read my report and see
Yes.
where it was seaside, I guess, got up to 60 for a high, and inland it got into the upper 80s.
Ooh.
And they didn't get
Yeah.
below 57 at night. So they had like no diurnal temperature range right at the coast, and it was a 30, 40-degree diurnal temperature range.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's, I always say, if you want to see the forsythia later in the spring, go to the coast.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
don't go to Northwest Jersey, go
Right.
to the coast. But you have the benefit of the fall,
Yes.
of the
We do.
fall.
And
The
everyone loves the
last
fall.
the last freeze, the first freeze of the season last year was the 27th of November along the coast. Now, mind you, the last freeze of the spring was early March this year along the coast.
Ah,
Yet
yeah.
it didn't get real warm, but it got less cold.
Right.
So you had about a 100-day range for the freeze season near the coast, and inland it was 200 days
Right.
when you went up to Walpack.
Huh.
There's your moderation is the word
Right.
for our weather, our climate along the coast.
Yeah.
Unlike,
Here's some. I don't know if you have the answer to it, it's great. But I'm wondering, like, where does New Jersey and the Jersey Shore rank in terms of like biggest sea breezes, like biggest differences between shore and inland areas? Like, I think we're. I'd like to say we're up there, but then like, are you counting the west coast of California because they always get west winds? Like, I don't
that'd
know.
be a great study.
Yeah.
That'd be a terrific study, but certainly the impact, you go further south and the waters are always warm. So, we get sea breezes like we get in the summer here, where it may lower the temperature 10 or 15 degrees.
Yeah.
You go up in New England, you get a sea breeze in the summer, and it's still kind of cool inland most often, yet the water's cool. So
Yeah.
in the summer, that's going to rule up in New England. But in the spring, Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah.
Mid-Atlantic
Okay.
is the big one that you just don't see further south along the Atlantic and Gulf Coast. And on the West Coast, it's cold along the coast almost every day of the year, unless on
Right.
a rare summer day, you can bring the 90-degree temperatures right to the coast. But that's unusual.
Yeah.
And often you don't see that until late summer or early fall.
Right. Yeah. Like I think September is one of the warmest months in California. I mean,
In San
it's
Francisco,
along the coast, right? In some parts.
yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, this was we had a lot to talk about in May. Happy birthday to you again here, and thank you. And what else is going on with the climate office? What else should we expect for the summer? We got a busy summer ahead. We hanging out this summer. What's going on?
Well, we're going to be installing a station this month, our 70th station in Somerset County at New Jersey American Water Company's filtration plant at the confluence of the Millstone and Raritan rivers.
Okay.
So we're looking at maybe a couple other stations we're keeping in mind. Looking way ahead, we're going to be at the Tomato Fest at Rutgers Snyder Farm
Yeah.
out in Hunterdon County. If you like tomatoes, that's at the end of August, so we have time to talk about that.
Okay.
But otherwise, just keeping at it. We're actually in the early stage of a much overdue revamp of the website for the state climate office. Nothing too soon on that. So a lot of workman-like stuff, projects over the course of this summer.
Okay. All right. Well, good. We'll look forward to those to that station, and the tomatoes are good. We'll have to get you stomping on the tomatoes, like making the tomato sauce. You gonna do that while you're there too, or no?
I'd rather stomp on grapes and make some wine.
Wow, that's true. It's a good point. Good point. All right. Well, we're gonna wrap it up for this month's edition of the Monthly Weather Roundup. A programming note, because I'm going to be gone the last week of June and the first week of July. We're not doing a June wrap up, but that just means we'll have to have double the amount of fun at the end of July, early August. This is actually breaking. Speaking of streaks, Cal Ripken streak. I've been doing this. I don't think I've missed a month. I don't know. I have to look. It's been a long time since I've missed a month. So
Don't make a habit of it.
I'm not. Hey, listen. If you want to do it yourself for 30 minutes, it's all yours. I can't pay you, but if you feel like it,
When have you ever paid me?
I'm not. I'm not. Sometimes how about a Christmas card?
Yeah, there you go.
That you give back to me. You give me a Christmas card anyway, so it don't matter. All right, we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We will see you guys soon. Take care, everybody.